Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to make another video in my series where I'm talking about the secrets that I learned for each of my different milestones in lifting. Today I'm going to start off the squat series with the lessons that I learned to get to a 500-pound squat. Now, keep in mind, I do like to give this disclaimer for this series that these are just the lessons that led to me squatting 500 pounds. Of course, there's going to be genetic differences. I'm not saying that I have good or bad genetics, but I am saying that just learning these lessons won't necessarily get you to any specific milestone, but they might make good lessons just to improve your training overall if it's something that you haven't thought about. Okay, so back to my first 500-pound squat. I'm not actually entirely sure of the date of this. I know it was in the summer leading up to my senior year of high school. So that would have been in 2013. I would have been 17 years old or so, and I think I weighed around 215 to 220 pounds at the time. And at this point in my training career, I was really starting to get serious. I had learned to trust the process in a program, and our football program had just brought on a new strength and conditioning coach from West Virginia University. He had played football there, and he brought something new to the weight room that I had not necessarily been privy to up until that point. So just like the bench video, the first thing that I learned in my route of progress was to follow a program and not to try and max out every single week. So trusting the process was kind of the first thing that helped me build my squat. And then the second thing, and this is probably the biggest factor in me being able to squat 500 pounds for the first time, was simply learning to push myself. And that came from us getting that new weight training instructor at school because, you know, he was a hard guy. We'll just put it that way, where he really wanted to get the best out of us. And there was talk at the time of our high school doing a weightlifting competition against the opposing area rival high school, which that didn't end up happening, but that was the first thing that got the idea of this competitive powerlifting or weightlifting in my mind for the first time. So this coach, some of the things that he would do would be he would put us through circuits, whether it be conditioning or taking us outside, or some of these circuits were weight circuits where we go from exercise to exercise. And he would push us until, at some points I remember throwing up out on the football field or in the trash can in the gym. And that was my first real exposure to okay, this is what it's like to train hard. Because up until that point, I had been completing all of the workouts, but as a high schooler and as people tend to be, I think I was just avoiding some of that hard work and taking the easy way out sometimes. And that coach did not allow me to do that. And I think that's the number one takeaway on my journey here is I learned fairly early on, how hard you can really push yourself. And we never thought about the idea of overtraining. I may have heard the term, but this coach didn't care, right? And I would come in and I would be beat up, but because I enjoyed the process and I trusted him, so building on top of that trusting the process thing, I was like, he's not going to lead us astray. Here it is. And I would lay it on the line for the next session. Now, the second main thing, along with learning to push myself hard and caring about getting stronger, the other thing that came to me and led to that first 500 plus pound squat was the idea of looking into my form. And I had mentioned this with the bench press video, my first 300 pound bench press. I was starting to understand that form was a big deal in these kind of things. Well, this is forward about a year and a half where I understood it even better now for these squats. Okay, I need to take my time getting set up. And of course, was I the most diligent? No, but I had an intricate setup. And when we watch this video at the end, where we see my first 500 pound squat, you'll see I take my time to set my hands. I get under the bar. I had not learned up until this point about low bar squatting, so that's something that we'll save for the next video, learning even more about form. But I was still being diligent. You'll also notice that I had learned, hey, squatting in Chuck Taylors or a stable-soled shoe is a good idea. So that was another little thing that had been added in at this point to kind of build that strong squat. You'll notice I have knee wraps on, which they're the Walmart ones. Honestly, they're a lot like Ace bandages as far as the strength of them. But I was at least being cognizant on like, oh, maybe I should wear a little bit of like lifting gear or a belt. I was just using the gym's squat belt at the time that everybody shared basically. And these were the foundations. Now, the last thing before we get to this clip, you'll notice I still don't squat to depth, right? I was pretty good, I would say just a tad high, but this is still not a complete powerlifting depth. So here we are, you'll notice, pretty diligent, like taking some time to get set up, not rushing it too bad. I have some squat shoes on. Depth, I would say that's right in there to just high. So I count this as my first 500 pound squat, even though it wasn't in a competition, obviously. But these were some of those lessons. And to sum it up, it was just, I learned to train hard, trust the process, and then I started to learn to focus on some of the intricacies. So, a belt, some possible light knee wraps or knee sleeves. I would have been smarter to use at that time. And then Chuck Taylors, that's the main thing. I was learning, you can't just squat in running shoes. Okay, so hopefully that gives some insight on my pathway to squatting 500 pounds for the first time. Hopefully this helps you all out. Let me know down below, what milestone are you working towards next? I'm interested to hear from you all. And until next time, happy lifting.